Oh my, we're here. Welcome to Let's Talk Tridactyls. I'm your host, Mr. Ed, former archaeologist, former paleotech for the Graves Museum of Archaeology and Natural History, former board member of the Broward County Archaeological Society. We got, looks like Mark Grawl calling in from Boca. I say calling in. People are welcome. If you guys want to talk, you got something to say, or if you have a question for our guest tonight, Tyrone Ellington, or even get a question for our sidekick, Fat Jesus, who always has some sort of interesting tale to tell. So what do we got to talk about here? Well, as a reminder, Maria and Wawita, the Fodactyl, have been considered cultural heritage, patrimony by the Ministry of Culture to Peru. I think that is an important thing. We got Fat Jesus saying welcome to Mark for coming. He'll be joining us in a little bit here. Also, I understand that Alberto and Victoria will be added. I think Victoria is the most important specimen individual in the history of humanity. Where Victoria's son is, I don't know. There's probably better names we could call Victoria. Maybe we could call her Good Anna or the Black Turtle or maybe a host of other names. Gun. I don't know. Ka. Maybe Ka. Maybe we can call his son Ku. We're going to talk a little bit about Ku tonight. We're going to hopefully get into some storm gods versus sea gods. If you saw our little advert for that, that was kind of fun. Looks like both of our peeps are in the chat there. Yeah, I'm rocking a Star Trek shirt. So I wanted to go for something that like you could just buy off of Amazon and make your own costume, you know? But after putting together like the turtleneck, the t-shirt, the little pin here, it ends up being more expensive than just get a costume shirt. But you know, this I can wear in the street and maybe people won't notice. You know what? I'm 55, live a little, have fun. Right? Victoria. Yeah. Of course, even the names, giving the name sexes doesn't make sense either. They're probably hermaphroditic amphibians who maybe even experience sequential hermaphroditism. That's easy for you to say. Check this out. Our benevolent benefactor. Oh, you can't see it. It's on the green screen. That's so funny. What if I put it on my shirt? It's still set to green screen, so it's keying out everything green. So you can't even see this. Okay, well, look on my maybe I can turn the green screen off. I actually have specifically a blue screen. I thought I had a blue screen for just such an occasion. Let's see here. For just such an, is this it? No, it's still. Okay, we can do this one here. There you go. Look at this little guy. Isn't this cool? So someone maybe a tridactyl larva, which of course I've literally had someone say to me, Ed, there are no larvae. And you know, I don't know if I agree with that. In fact, let's take a quick look here at a recent post of mine where I just I try to put together some of the better images. Let's do a show screen here. Let's see. Let's see. Center? Nope. 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 Oh, I don't have a camera for this one? Nope. All right, we got to put it over here. Hold your horses. Look, I'm not the most tech savvy guy around. All right, here we go though. So I think this is a great one. You know, this here, this is in, who is that in? Actually, it says it right here. Luisa. So Josephine, I think, has a one in a similar position here. So, I mean, I think this is a great one. That is the skull. And it's weird, too, how the colors come out like that, huh? That's in the skull. I believe you can see the eyes. You can see the beak. You can see the layered spinal plates. And then here's a similar one in Victoria. And I've found these in two other beings. So I think that's a great larva right there. I don't know, Fat Jesus. Can you see it? Does it look like a sock puppet, Fat Jesus? By the way, don't do drugs, kids. Okay, let's see what else we have on here, because there's a couple other tridactyl images I think I'd like to see before we move on to our guests. We're going to have fun tonight, I hope. Okay, so this one here, I believe, shows some forelimb first. So we see this is their front limbs, and you can see their tail. Also, you might even be able to see these ridges. Maybe most importantly, though, is the ancients were well aware of this tridactyl metamorphosis. There are these three-fingered beings, and they also seem to be able to pick up, again, the spinal cord in the drawing. Does that mean the ancients had access to microscopes and CT scans? I don't know. Let's go back and see if we can see a couple more. That's that same picture here, but that's a different one found in Louisa, which looks very similar to something on the genetic disc, if you don't know the genetic disc. And then this one here is a little side view of what appears to be a tridactyl larva feeding. Its little arm and its proboscis coming out. I think that's all I really wanted to show you for the larva, to be honest. Let's see, anybody else talking to us in the chat? Here we go. Yeah. Fat Jesus wants one of them larva guys, huh? That's the cutest little guy. Can we vote for a name? That's funny. I usually try to give every imitation character a name. So we've got Inti, who's the little cute gray guy. There's our 3D model I'm calling Gumby. There's the dancing tridactyl, the dancing clapping tridactyl. We call him Trid. The good thing about giving the names is that we know what exactly graphic we're talking about. Oh, we've been doing some research on some naming here. Could there be something in a name that maybe Lou is also related to dragon, that Lou name. So there's that. Okay, so make sure I covered everything before we move on. How are we doing on time? Oh, we still got a few minutes here. I try to talk for like 15 minutes to get us going. I didn't want to say something about, I think people have forgotten how to debate. They've forgotten how to debate civilly. It breaks down to ad hominem attacks and whatnot. Also, when you're debating anything, politics, I mean, I don't know, healthcare, tridactyls, try to avoid pronouns like you're doing this, you believe this. It's not about you or me. It's about, typically, it should be the facts. And I think our guest said something interesting recently also, Tyrone. I saw him talking online. It's like people condemn you for asking questions. Look, I don't pretend to have the answers. Well, okay, maybe I pretend to have some answers. But it's not about me. Let's discuss the facts and let's debate the facts. You know, one of the things I did before even getting into the tridactyls was I would debate people, and I like it. And I also like looking into people's sort of psychology, why people do things. But at the same time, I don't think we should be what I call motive framing. So it kind of goes back to that same pronoun thing. Like, you're doing this because you think A. You don't know what people think. And so I see that a lot also. There's also that appeal to what's called economic reductionism, which is you're just doing this to make money. You're just doing this to sell books. Look, everybody's allowed to make money. And I think if you can make money doing what you love, then yeah, go for it. So that's something I wanted to cover. I keep itching my neck here. I get bit a lot around here. In fact, I have the door open. So I'll probably, once I bring the guests on, I'll have to get up and close the door before I'm invaded by the insectoids. What else? What else? If you watch the beginning of this, when I just run the reel of the tridactyl imagery, you should see some blurry pictures of tridactyl larvae. I need to switch those out. You know, I find better images as we go along. But you'd also see images of that parietal pineal gland. So, you know, if it's pareidolia and I'm seeing things like the larva, then am I seeing things with the parietal pineal gland? Or am I seeing things where it looks like Alberto's ear bone, which, by the way, looks like something you would see in an aquatic creature, those ear bones. That aquatic ear bone looks like an Alberto was removed from the interior of his skull and placed on the exterior. Now, someone said that was probably done post-mortem. Maybe. Something to think about. I think it relates to something in our group myths called the mind-born effect. When we do bring our guests on, we are going to talk a little bit about symbolism and storm gods and sea gods, which hopefully Tyrone can enlighten us to. And I'll throw in my suspicions on phonemes. You know, I believe that there is likely a proto-human language. Others believe that too. But traditional academia suggests otherwise. Interesting stuff. So let's see here. Let's bring on our guests and our sidekick, Fat Jesus. We're going to bring them both on at the same time today. We're going to get right into it. So let's see here. Oh, I don't see Jesus. Where'd he go? It says 2. I don't know. Well, we'll start off with Rebirth of the Word.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? What's up, man?
Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, man. Hey, it's funny what you were saying about the stuff that, you know, people don't know how to debate. I actually took a debate class in high school, man.
Oh, jeez.
And I can tell you that's one of the things that I learned in my debate class was you got to separate your emotions from the facts. You know what I'm saying? You can't get emotional about what somebody says. If you're presenting something to somebody, you have to also present the facts at least the evidence. I like to say facts because when I provide my evidence, the fact of the matter is this is where I got my information from. So to me, it's the facts.
Right. Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, look, I did my research. This is what I learned. And, you know, a lot of people block me on Twitter because all I do is share what I've learned. You know what I'm saying? All I do is I take a picture of the book or whatever source it is and say, this is where I learned it from. Now give me a source that goes against that, and then I can do my comparative study on my own, and then boom, I can make up my own rational decision from that point on, right? You know, it's great because this is social media too. You know what I'm saying? People are putting on a show, and you also said something else. You know, to a lot of people, this is a business for them. I've been told by people that block me, I'm too much because this is a business for them. Well, now you're making it into a business. Now that means you're trying to find the most people that agree with your narrative rather than the people that are going to challenge your narrative if you're wrong. You know, I love when people challenge me. I don't get too many people who challenge me with sources. You know, when somebody says that I'm wrong about something, I'll be like, well, I'm not the one that's wrong. This book that I read is wrong. This is the information that I got. You know what I'm saying? So don't tell me I'm wrong. Say the source is wrong. So if you want to attack somebody, don't attack me. Attack that person where I got. And
isn't that part of the game, though? It's like the part of the game is to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
Or it's not my. I mean, I've even had to I'm almost kind of like, this is great. I think it's great. I like the social dynamics of social media. I do. I feel it helps me learn a lot about myself and how to format thoughts and how to, talk to people. So I like that, but I feel like it makes me learn about myself and how perhaps I make the wrong moves and perhaps I'm talking wrong to someone. But I think ultimately, I like what you said the other day. It's like I'm just asking questions, and so it's like the same thing. I'm just telling you what I found. You know what I mean? And I try to tell people, okay, this is my speculation. Like on tonight's topic, I believe that there is a Eastern flow to the West. But to be honest, I can't find much evidence of that. So that leaves me with what? Well, this is just my speculative opinion, right? So I think you're going to help me with that tonight. And I have a lot of reasons why I think things are moving from Asia, moving west to Europe. And I have my theories on perhaps how Sumer and Egypt may have got started. But I know you've done a lot of research into the Sumerian things, and I've done a little bit myself. So I don't know. What do you want to start with? And I see Fat Jesus is out there. So let's get a little inch. Why don't you hold that thought, and we'll let Fat Jesus come in and give his I was
about to pull out a source, man. I was about to pull out a source on it.
Well, he was there, and he's gone.
Oh, there you go.
There you are.
Fat Jesus, what's going on?
What's up, everybody? This is Fat Jesus Live. What's going on, guys?
How you doing,
Right. What's going, man? I was just listening to you guys, and I was like, "Whoa, this is going to be a really good night, man." Great
We're on
conversation
fire tonight, I think.
Yeah, I'm on fire too, man. I mean, whoever's going to be listening up, getting on here and listening, or later on, because they're probably busy, or in Japan, they're going to be on that train, that high speed train. They'll be like, "Oh wow, I wonder what they're going to be talking about." You know,
We hope.
That's
right?
the
We
awesome
hope.
thing about social media.
Yeah, getting in touch with people all over the world. And, you know, I wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for the Tridactyls. I'd probably be like arguing some other point with people. You know, I have other interests too, you know, acting, filmmaking, sci-fi, gaming.
Yeah, I noticed that you're wearing something really odd today. What is that?
You know, I realized I got the wrong pin. But oh well.
Which pin is that?
I was trying to make like my own like homemade Star Trek outfit kind of thing. But
it looks great.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little psi symbol here, right? I got to put my psi symbol.
Did you have
I'm like Psi-Corp, you know?
Did you have an audition with Starfleet Academy?
No,
what's going on?
You know, I tell people I'm a xenoanthropologist. Of course, some people are like, "You mean you go to school for xenoanthropology?" But it's like there's people calling themselves cryptozoologists and ufologists. It's like, lighten up, Francis, you know?
That would be badass if you were on Star Trek.
You know, I always think that, and it's like I realized that they work 12 hours and plus. You know, I wore Wolfman makeup. It was applied to me by Rick Baker, the famous FX artist, and I wore that makeup for 19 hours. I left the teeth in for 12.
That guy is legendary.
Legendary. And when I say Rick Baker put the makeup on, that means his assistant put the makeup on, and Rick Baker went over and went, "Okay, that's good." Wow. So anyway,
I mean, he might not know who that person is, but I mean, it's like the who's who in makeup artists.
Oh, I've been. Hey, as soon as I learned who he was, man, you better believe I did my deep dive on him. I always research people that I come in contact with, and the only reason why is because I got to figure out whether they have a narrative to share or if they're just trying to share, you know, evidence. You know, and I like the way he's trying to share evidence.
Well, yeah, there's some people that are out there just VTubers. We call them VTubers because that's all they just try to grab onto whatever and just about it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm only here because of the Tridactyls. So it's funny, those social media accounts that we talk about accuse people of, like, you know, making money and stuff. Meanwhile, I look at their accounts, whether it's Tim Alberino or Pillars of the Past. It's like,
you guys are the real deal, by the way.
They have subscriptions.
You are the real deal. I feel like I'm the VTuber. I'm being serious. I feel like I'm just tagging along. That's why I'm the sidekick.
I call you you're a xenotech. You're like an archaeotech or a paleotech. You're humbled. A xenotech. But I think we're going to start with Tyrone, and Tyrone's going to give us a little background of because I see him talking about these gods, and I want him to just maybe set the record straight on some of these Sumerian gods.
Please. Well, you know, it's more like, where did they come from? Where did the information come from? Right? What do we know about these individuals? What can be considered a god? What can be considered a deity? What we look at? You know, when Moses came down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments, remember all those people? They had the golden calf and they was worshiping that as the god. You know, so we have our own ideas of a god, but I like to stick to what the evidence shows. And, you know, pictures are 1,000 words. We know that. And when you look at the depictions of these gods from Sumeria, their depictions are what we know as what we see here on earth: water, fire, wind, thunder, so on and so forth, right? So these gods are depictions of representations of what we have around us on earth, right? What we see on a daily basis, what we encounter on a daily basis. You know, you got a wind god, which is for heavy winds, could be a tornado. You got a thunder god, you know, you got plenty of those, you know, and it's not that, you know, it's in one location, it's in many locations. You know, a god here can be the same god there, because what we have over here is what we have over there, right? We have floods over there and we have floods over here. We have thunder over there and we have thunder over here. So understanding where these gods came from is the biggest thing for me. So the first thing I had to do was understand what a god was. And that can be anything. Like I said last time, people will pick this thing up right here, their cell phones, and they worship that as their god, right? Some people like, fire. You know, that's their god, right? And then you go to Zoroastrianism and you see that there's a whole god that has to do with fire, right? And then you go see and read in the Bible that the god was a light god or of some type of fire in some sense, in some ways. You know, you can see that in the Bible. But the point is that when it comes to the Sumerians, when it comes to their gods, it wasn't the Sumerians that depicted these gods in a sense of, you know, coming outside of Earth's atmosphere. I've said it so many times. Zachariah Sitchin, you know, Billy Carson, you know, Giorgio Tsoukalos from Ancient Aliens, they believe that these gods came from outside of Earth's atmosphere because of the simple fact that Zachariah Sitchin held up what is called cylinder seal 243, which depicts on the top left corner of the cylinder what seems like it could be something outside of Earth's atmosphere, an extra planet or something like that. But that depiction is not accurate, first of all. It's not the same size and location of these things. Then you also have to remember when he wrote his book, The 12th Planet, in 1976, he actually called it the 12th planet. Well, the sun is not a planet and the moon is not a planet. And we know that other planets around us have many more moons. So why did we just pick out the moon? And, you know, and then we talked about the astral belt. You know, the Sumerians talk about this, that, and the third about the astral belt, or not the Sumerians, but Zachariah Sitchin says the Sumerians says that. And the Sumerians only knew of 5 planets. That's literally what's in their text. But then when you go further into, you know, the Akkadians, Assyrians, Babylonians, Chaldeans, Hittites, and so on and so forth, yes, that's when they talk about more planets and more things and so on and so forth. So it's not the sense that I'm going to sit here and say that there isn't a possibility that there's extraterrestrial life, because mathematically, I definitely believe there's life outside of Earth's atmosphere. What I can tell you that when it comes to the Sumerian depictions itself, their gods don't represent anything outside of Earth's atmosphere. It's all within our atmosphere and
our realm.
Exactly. And if you look at the actual wording, they do say they came from the depths of the sea. The best word that I can always tell everybody is look at the word Abzu. Anybody that knows anything about Mesopotamian mythology, the Abzu is literally the primordial water, right? And Enki was the creator of humans who rose from the water to give knowledge to humans. Now you have the Book of Enoch and all this other stuff that says fallen angels, but you got to look at the Strong's Concordance of what the word angel means. You got to look at Nephilim, what it means, and see what it actually meant in that time frame, not what you believe today in 2026. So these gods they can come from all over, and 2 things can be right at once, right? The Sumerians could have been here or could have had some idea of interterrestrial beings, and then the Akkadians or Babylonians, something came from the sky and eventually an extraterrestrial came. It's a possibility, but let's stick to what we know as far as our depictions, because, you know, pictures are 1,000 words and anybody can come up with anything just looking at a picture.
There are people that actually really swear that they will find the same thing that they find here. They'll find it on Mars if they dig. Like, that would be scary. Like, not scary like, oh my God, this is scary. No, like scary for religion and the belief, right? Like on Earth. But if they find stuff that is human like here, like what we have here on Mars, that changes everything, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I
well,
mean,
for the people that don't believe it.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm thinking too, like, what if all these, not megaliths, but these glacial erratics, these stones that appear to look like things, you know, if we start finding things like that look similar to Mars, sure, it could be a natural occurrence, or it could be something, pareidolia, which I say also, it's like pareidolia is okay for the ancients. You know, to the ancients, if you came across a rock that looked like something, a living thing, then that rock could end up having religious significance. I just posted something about a Naga temple in Fiji, which they claim grows in size, that they had to raise the roof, and they keep that because they suggest it looks like a Naga cobra. So yeah, pareidolia.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, the whole thing about Mars, you know, I said this before, you know, the history behind Mars is intriguing. I say that because when I was growing up, they had that face on the Mars. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everybody looking at that. And
the ultimate pareidolia. That's what a lot of people learned about pareidolia.
Yeah, and that struck me. And I was like, okay, what is the possibilities? Then you see these, what would look like structures on Mars. And I've read plenty of times, plenty of texts, plenty of books, plenty of evidence that says that there was life on Mars. There's a possibility, and it could be, right? But what proof that we have right now that can say 100%? And we won't get that until we land on Mars and start digging archaeologically, right? It won't happen until we see that. And even then, when you bring something to somebody's attention, they still will dismiss it because it doesn't go with their narrative. I think the people that will be affected by life outside of Earth's atmosphere confuses me, and it should confuse them too, because when you talk about God, God doesn't reside on Earth. So obviously he resides somewhere outside of Earth's atmosphere, right? Which makes him technically, if you go by the technical term, that's extraterrestrial. Anything that's outside of Earth's atmosphere is extraterrestrial. And he's also an alien because of the simple fact that he is foreign to us, right? We can't look at him and live. That's facts. They say if you look at God, you die. I can look at each and every human on this planet and won't die. But if I look at God, I can't. And that's foreign to me. So that means he is extraterrestrial and he's alien. So my point is why don't these people believe this? Because Jesus is supposed to come back to us. And most depictions show him coming and rising back to us through the sky. So that means he's coming from outside of Earth's atmosphere back into our Earth. So that tells me right there that it's extraterrestrial. Now, I don't get emotional about words like that because of the simple fact that if I want to look at it logically, I wouldn't take that away from that. You know what I'm saying? I would keep that as it is, extraterrestrial and alien, because they don't look like them.
If there is a supreme energy of the universe, I think we have to separate that from any sort of terrestrial superior beings as is too, which I think if you follow Paul Wallace, there's a lot of great videos. There's Paul Wallace I love. There's Esoterica. Do you watch Esoterica by any chance, Tyrone?
No, I don't. I watch Paul Wallace though.
The Jewish scholar. Oh, you'll love. If you haven't watched Esoterica, I want to recommend him. There's also a nice lady. I think Ben Way is her name. She does a lot of stuff on the Tao and those things. But anyway, we have to separate, I think, between a terrestrial God, such as what people refer to as the demiurge. And the demiurge is a serpentine being with a lion's head, which kind of falls into the same realm of what I talk about with the Tridactyls. And I suggest that the Tridactyls going through a metamorphosis over time is going to provide different imagery. So some people picture them as the Naga, some picture them as a reclining cat. And that might just be various interpretations, which again seems to be biologically. So of course, what I do, I try to combine biological with the metaphysical.
A lot has been coming up about the Sphinx on the internet, and someone did an aerial photo of the Sphinx, and they showed how tiny the head is on the body, and people are saying it's definitely a lion. It has to be because the way the paws are like a lion's paws, and the body looks like the shape. It could be a lion. It could be a leopard. We don't know. The head, but it's facing the direction where Leo rises up. And that is why people are saying it's got to be a lion.
If you follow my research at all, I ended up, this is one of those weird peripheral tridactyl discoveries that I didn't expect. And that is the Sphinx and Lion's Rock, which Lion's Rock from the parallel side in Sri Lanka. Maybe you can pull some of this stuff up today, Mr. Jesus. Lion's Rock, Sri Lanka, and the Sphinx line up with Mount Kailash within a degree. I mean, that's got to be more than just coincidence. Mount Kailash is considered one of the most holy mountains in the world, and near its base are two lakes, a saltwater lake and a fresh lake. The saltwater lake is associated with the Rakasha, or ogres, or non-humans. One last thing, that Leo is not a lion. Leo, if you base it on, now the constellations many times.
That was going to be my next question, by the way.
The main star is not, the main star is associated with the constellation. The main star of Leo is Regulus, which means little prince, or a basilisk. And a basilisk is a type of lizard-like creature famous for its
So what was it before we marked it as a lion? What did ancients used to relate it with besides
I want to just say
with a lion?
I'm not positive, but I want to say,
would you know?
I want to say Little Prince still.
Would our guest know? Tyrone?
Regulus. Oops.
From what I know, it didn't start off as a lion. It was just a depiction that people connected to stars to look like a lion. So when people look at, Pisces and the Big Dipper and all that other stuff, it's
important.
Yeah,
right?
it is
for
important.
stories.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is and that's the thing. A lot of our mythologies, see, a lot of people like to take what the word myth and think that is fiction. If you look at the definition, it literally just says traditional oral story. But then the second definition under it, because it has multiple definition or meanings for it, does in a way says it means fiction. But one of the first ones is traditional oral story, right? And a traditional oral story is just based off of somebody's interpretation and understanding of whatever they're doing. But you also have to remember, we were hunters and gatherers. We were doing things. Anybody that's been a fisherman that sits out there on the water, on the lake or in the bank, there's nothing to do for those hours, right? From 6 a.m. I mean, I go fishing. I'll leave my house like at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's so calming
up the boat. Yeah, going out there. There's nothing much else to do, right? And then remember last time when I said is that they didn't have TV, phones, and entertainment, so they had to tell stories. Well, what's the best way to tell a story to make somebody remember it? Well, you use what's around you to help people memorize things, right? Like, so if you're thinking of a lion, if you're around a whole bunch of lions, then you're going to say that's a lion. Here in America, do we have lions running around here in America? Not really.
No, we got.
I mean, some people have personal ones and stuff.
We got
like
mountain
that.
lions.
Yeah, we got mountain lions, pumas.
But those are different than the ones from across the world, right? So that's what I'm saying is that we don't really have lions walking around like the main one, the ones that's in Africa or Africa or Asia, right? They're much different looking.
We don't have anything comparable to a lazy lion.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
I will say this, Mr. Jesus, the Babylonians also call it the Great Lion. So there you go. That's point for you. Point for the lions. But again, I also feel, and maybe I'm just reaching here, but I feel the Tridactyls are constantly
different cultures around the world.
Yeah, I think the Tridactyls are constantly changing form, and I do think that cats. Look at the Ice Age lion of Germany. It shows an anthropomorphic cat, meaning human-like. And even here in Florida, there's the Key Marco cat, which is sitting in a kneeled position. So the lions and cats could still be simply a metaphor. I always say that the point of the animals isn't the animal, but how they relate to these other beliefs. And going back to the constellations, I look at the constellations as probably the earliest dry erase board. And what would people use to teach people about anything might just be those constellations. So before writing, we probably had constellations as our symbolic language.
I'm going to be reaching real quick. I'm going to let you talk. Let's say, for instance, we have noticed how all these cultures seem to connect with each other some way or another. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. Like pyramids, like Easter Island, all these cultures seem to have already traveled around the world and discovered America already before anybody else could ever discover it. That's the crazy part, right? Like we all claim that we discovered and we discovered the world is round, but maybe they already had discovered the world was round way before the Western world has ever discovered the world was round, right? But here's the other thing. What if the constellations were mixed? Like the Aztecs and the Mayans have their, and I'm reaching now, their constellations. And then you got the and forgive me if I get canceled here, the Asians, they have their constellations, and it's not the lion or Leo. They got the fire horse, which is Happy New Year's.
Well, that is true. It's not the same interpretation for everyone.
Yeah. So what if they all, certain groups or the astrologer, not astrologers or astronomers, those groups knew exactly who or what constellations and who and what cultures knew about those constellations. Maybe they mixed and matched constellations. Maybe they knew exactly what they were doing in the different cultures, and they traveled around the world. That's just something I'm throwing out there. We haven't really studied it enough.
You would have to try to find, like we do normally with all the other things. I call it hyperdiffusion. We'd have to find is the lion, like you said, is the lion also the lion somewhere else, right? That's a different. But I found that a lot of the Chinese, there's no similarity.
Vice versa, the fire horse, which is this year's lunar year, which is crazy. Where else are we going to find that?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You were going to say something, Tyro.
Oh, I was just going to say, going back to the lions that you were talking about, you got to remember the mountain lion is also known as a cougar and what is it? A puma, I think it is.
Panther.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, and if you really look at it, it doesn't look like a lion that you know of, like I said, in Africa and China or any of those other places. So, it's all like our depiction, what we see and what we think we understand. And I like to point out the fact that it comes to, these stories were told for us to keep the stories going. And it's like the telephone game. I guess that's how you can call it. You line up 10 people, right? I tell the first person something. By the time it gets to the 10th person, there's going to be a lot of differences and a lot of, added information and information taken away from what I've said. But the core information is going to be there. So in order to understand what that 10th person was saying, because it won't make sense, because 987654321 didn't get those that information. So you have to go through all those individuals to get the information, and it's hard because that's where it comes into doing your due diligence. One thing I want to point out,
song, isn't it?
8675309.
Hell yeah. I was going to say, to Ed, I one thing that I can't stand is when you try to provide somebody with something and they argue and say, well, this is wrong, and you provide them and say, hey, read this, then get back to me, and then let's have a discussion. The first thing that people do when they see something that they don't agree with is they attack you personally, right? And I love it because I match energy. I can match energy very well.
I do too.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I match energy. Sometimes I'll try to override the energy and do it. And that's just, I know who I am.
If they drew first blood, then
yeah. You know what I'm saying? So when I don't understand how people can read a word on the internet, on a TV screen, and get so mad. How do you know what tone I was using when I wrote those words? Why not?
You're winning. You know you're winning when they get mad. Because when they start flipping out, you already won the war right there.
Bro, I had people, man, I was cool with so many different people, bro. I've actually had people call me on my personal cell phone and get mad at me because they thought I said something. I said, why are you mad at me? I didn't mean it like that. I don't care. That's what I took it as. Well, then you're emotionally involved. Maybe step back from them emotions, then come back and talk to me. Because
something over religiousness? Or something?
No, it could be anything, man. Lately, it's been about me sharing about that I don't believe the Anunnaki came from planet Nibiru. I say, look, this is what the texts say. These are what the books say. Give me one source that you can tell me that they say that they came from planet that they came from planet called Nibiru.
Why are you going to lie for these people?
Yeah, I think what happens
you're reading from something.
Because if one of us tonight could say something speculative, and this is the danger of like podcasters like Joe Rogan or something. One of us tonight could say something speculative, and then that person goes out and says, "Hey, did you know this is a fact?" Right?
Yeah.
And that's where I think the problems begin. And that's why, what Tyrone does is Tyrone tries to bring it to at least an original piece of text. Let's argue from that point on. And going back to the Leo guys, look at that constellation. Does that look like a lion?
It does. That's my point. That is my point.
Look at the horoscope too for the lion. That looks like a larva. Okay. Look at the horoscope for lion. Why was that symbol chosen for the lion? Look at that up real quick, Mr. Jesus.
I'm telling you,
I'm still saying sock puppet.
That's my point.
I'm messing with you.
That's my point. People will say, "Look in the sky. That looks like the lion." That doesn't look like a lion to me.
No,
but you want me to believe it does, and that's okay. That's fine. I'm not angry about you wanting me to believe in something. But if I'm telling you personally, look, hey, I see this. It doesn't look like a lion to me. Why are you getting mad at me? That's what I don't like. And like I said, I match energy. I love matching energy. That's something that I can do very well. I've been doing it all my life. I took debate classes when I was in high school. So I know how
you learned from debate class.
Okay, first of all, you can't be emotionally involved, okay? Because when you're emotionally involved, you're going to make sure that you're always going to try to fight your narrative. One of my teachers, what they told me is you should be able to argue both points across with enough evidence. So
And
my point is like
they make you argue they make you debate something
that was
you
on
don't even agree with.
Starfleet Academy. Remember?
They just did that. They just did that episode. That's right.
With the Klingons.
Yeah, you have to make an argument for both points. So I can make an argument that the Anunnaki came from extraterrestrial based off of what if we go off of what the Babylon is, and then Sitchin, yes, because that's what's. And when I say the Babylonians and Chaldeans, I mean that if they say that there's this depiction that this is in the sky, that's their god. Okay, could that be a name for the god? The Anunnaki could be a name. That's just a title. That's not actually somebody's name. See, a lot of people forget that back in those days when we were given names, it wasn't names that represented how we talk today, like Ed and Tyrone and so on and so forth, right? It was a title. That's why Abraham's name changed, Abram to Abraham, right? His name changed based off his title. So that's where it comes into is your name changes based off your title. That's why I call myself Rebirth of the Word. That's my title. That's not my real name. And I you see what I'm saying? So
I'm Tridactyls.
Exactly. And baby, man, I'm telling you, man, a lot of people don't understand this is that the emotions is what get people a lot. And then everybody wants to be friends with somebody on the internet. That's fine too, but you don't really know some of these people, right? Y'all don't really know me and I don't really know you. So we don't know what we, how can I say, our personalities. We only know what we're showing right now, but I am that person. I'm that person what you see online is what you're going to see in person. Literally. And you've seen me argue with people, Ed, online. I do it because, for one, the best way to learn something is to attack somebody's knowledge. That's why you will always say, well, your lack of knowledge is showing because you don't know what you're talking about. That's what I would say. And it's okay because I have lack of knowledge. I don't know what I'm talking about. I take everything from matter of fact, I don't think I know everything. I just know what other people say. That's my argument. Oh, you want to say something? I know this person says this. I know that person says that. So now argue with those people. I'm just telling you what I've learned. Damn. Just like they're doing.
Yeah. And I find that a lot of people, whether it could be anything, they come back with a nuh-uh. And it's like, we can't have a discussion from nuh-uh. You have to like tell me like, why do you disagree? And like you said, maybe you'll enlighten me. Hey, I got a slide to show us today.
Hey, I just wanted to do a shout out to Aaron. Thanks for chatting back at us. Appreciate it, Aaron.
Definitely. Anybody wants to stop in? I always say too, even the skeptics can hop in. You get one insult. So you get one insult and then I let you go. Now I'll probably get you more than one insult.
Easy.
So, I've been researching this fish symbol, especially since we've been talking about aquatic deities. And of course, I'm trying to get some sort of chronology in my favor, but it's hard for me to find a chronology in my favor. Up top here, we have an evolution of the Sumerian fish. What I liked about it is the phonetic term for it is ku. Now, if you're following any of my research, it's a bit of a speculative folkloric, my own personal folklore, where I've put together what I suggest is a trinity of beings that humanity may have followed, starting with a mother goddess of Ki, followed by her son Ka, who she then breeds with and has another son, Ku. Now, you can find these in separate cultures, not necessarily all together. So to find that this fish is Ku, I find interesting as what I call the savior sun god. So what else do we have?
Well, the Catholic Church uses that.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we know the fish.
What would Jesus do?
We know the fish from Christianity also. Well, over here is the old Chinese on the left, which is modern. It's called Wen, but back in old Chinese, it's Min or Men. And what I like about this, it's said to be a tattooed or patterned man, but that pattern is very, very much like the cross-hatching pattern on the tridactyl skin that I believe archaeology predicted. And then over here, I think this one is, and these two here are both the same. That is Harappan or Indus Valley. Now, the Indus Valley pronunciation is mean. So there's definitely a connection between the Chinese symbol and the Indus Valley symbol. So that's good.
So they say that the Catholic Church fish comes from the Greek.
Yeah, ichthyos, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, from ick or stick. So ICK. Wow, that's crazy, man. That there's such
and not only that, but if you refer back to my original point of I believe Ku, and I think wherever you're going to find Ku specifically is probably in oceanic terms. You'll find the god Ku there. I suggest Ku is a name again for this a savior redeeming child. So to have Ku be related to a fish and then have Jesus symbol also a fish, I thought was a nice connection there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is like ancient history, because when the further back you go, everything comes down to like a certain point in history. Right now we're at around 8.2 billion people on the planet. Back then, supposedly there was only about 2 or 1 I don't know how many hundreds of millions of people on the planet.
You know, nowadays we used to get into discussions at the bar, and you're like, you can argue with people all day. Now we can look it up on the internet. You know, no argument.
Yeah, well, no, they do a whole numbers thing, but I mean, it's not going to be completely accurate. I'm not going to say, oh, I know everything, but the thing is that, you know, there was a lot less people, so obviously it's going to be centralized more to a certain point than it is widely available all around the world like it is today. So it spreads out. So our technology, our language, our culture is so spread out today that it's combined from multiple cultures. We're not just one culture, we're multiple cultures right now. So all of our understanding, all of our knowledge is coming from different cultures all around the world, and that's incredible in itself. If you guys agree or not on this.
No, I agree. Matter of fact, before we went live on okay, yeah, what I was saying is before we went live, I did a discussion with some guys that I do every Sunday with also, and we were talking about Gnostic, right? Gnosticism, right? All that means is knowledge, right? Gaining knowledge or knowing something, right? So
and it has my Naga morpheme in it.
Yeah, and you know, it's so funny that people don't understand that it's not, you're not trying to prove I'm not, at least I'm not trying to prove somebody wrong or right. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get the information. I think that's what you're trying to do with these tridactyls, is you're just trying to say, hey, look, just look at this information, then come back and talk to me. I've seen people say all kinds of stuff about you. We talked about earlier.
Tell me.
What you call it? The taxidermy we was talking about last time.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a very important word to be careful that you use when you're talking about this, because when you look at taxidermy, it literally is preserving the look of that individual or that animal at that time. That's why when you go to one of these places, they do it in a certain pose and they're trying to make it as beautiful as they possibly can, more than likely to put on their wall or as a presentation, and it was real life. Like, you don't get these from these tridactyls where they try to keep it from deteriorating for a long time. And I've heard people say, well, it wouldn't be that clean. And I was like, well, how do you know how it was kept?
Are you an expert?
Exactly. And that's the first thing that I ask people: what expertise are you using this as? Because if you're using this as that, or ChatGPT or Grok, they're not actually doing no research. And that's what gets me, is that they don't actually go out their way to do their due diligence. They're quicker to dismiss your information than to verify. What I like to do is, how can I verify this person's information? And if there's no way that I can verify it through my due diligence, then I got to ask questions. But I'm always going to lead with questions in the first place, because I don't know. I'm not an expert in this. You know what I'm saying? I don't have what they call it, a degree in this,
or a certificate. Yeah.
Or a certificate. You know what I'm saying? And
or the experience.
or the experience.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the biggest thing, the experience. And that's what a lot of people are lacking. You know, a lot of people, you know, and people like talking shit anyway. That's the other thing. People talk so much shit, they just
That's
can't
the
take it
social
to the
media
point where
You guys remember Eric von Daniken, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, rest in peace. He didn't sat on a toilet and text all his information and say I believed in aliens and I'm gonna text this and write a book on my toilet, you know. Oh, this is my book and this. No, he traveled around the world. He physically boots on the ground with photographer, dug into the ground with archaeologists. He did the real thing.
And I think even
And he
Tyrone's
traveled.
trying to do that in a lesser degree. You know, he's going to every state visiting historic locations. And I think that's, you know,
He
equally.
did what other
important.
people wouldn't do. That's why he
Yep.
did what he did, because people
Yep.
would ignore it because they were afraid to do it. They were
And
like,
did you-
"Nah, that's not true."
And
He had to
Tyrone,
break the ice.
didn't you just do a video on him recently? Or on
Yeah,
I did it. Yeah, I did it in private.
Eric von Daniken, I think it was a great person. I think the people around him led him astray as he got more into it. And I say that because there's the information that he shared in the 1960s, you know what I'm saying? It was information that he was given at that time frame. Then other people wanted to jump on the bandwagon and make a name for themselves, and they just basically stroked his ego for it. He didn't have an ego. They gave him an ego because after a while he became the voice of ancient aliens instead of having the right people around. If he would have had the right people that gave him the right information, we would have probably been on the verge of knowing exactly who the Sumerians were talking about and stuff like that. But
Just to
because
correct you, ancient astronauts.
Ancient astronauts, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
You're right.
Later on, they switched to ancient aliens, but you know,
and I actually have the book.
He held on to the ancient astronaut the whole time. He didn't really, you know, he kept on saying they came from somewhere, but he never ever went into that. He said extraterrestrials. There's a possibility extraterrestrials, but mostly down here on Earth, they were always here. He always said that they were down here on Earth. They always stayed here down on Earth, and they're still here down on Earth. That was his premises on the whole thing.
Yeah, his book Chariots of the Gods, it was great because it was questions that he asked. You know, hey, what if this is possible? What is if nobody else can give me an answer for this, is this possible? And then Zecharia Sitchin came after him, wrote that 1976 book, and then now everything went total left. Now I'm not saying that either one of them were wrong for what they were doing. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just that I wholeheartedly believe, I feel that Eric von Daniken, if he had the right people around him, we would have been on it. We would have been great. But and I can tell you right now, I used to follow Billy Carson until he made that 2.5 hour video after Wesley Huff, and he was calling everybody poor and broke and stupid and all that stuff. He actually deleted it. Yeah, it was a bad video, man. Like I used to have.
I didn't know about that. I didn't catch that video.
Man, it's crazy because Wesley Huff and him had a semi debate, I guess you can say.
Okay.
And then Billy Carson got mad because Wesley Huff kind of called him out, and Billy Carson actually got up and walked out and left.
We met him, by the way, in person.
Yeah, I've met him before too. I got pictures with him. I talked to him.
We had conversations.
I even talked to him about
interviewed him.
Yeah, I think, and this is the thing, Billy Carson. The reason why I thought he was on the verge of finding the information is because I felt like he was sincere. But when he made that video, when somebody says that you're wrong about something, you don't do what he did. He literally called people broke. He called people stupid. He called people ignorant. Like, this was a 2.5 hour video that he made on it. And then he deleted it a couple of days later.
Say that people who accuse people of, like, they're making money. I'm like, that sounds like something a broke person You think the conspiracy, everybody's making money.
I don't want to throw Billy Carson under the bus because I think and I want to make sure I word this correctly. Too many black men and women in this world don't need to be pushed down. That's number one. I think we need to uphold and lift the minority.
Don't punch down.
Yeah. I mean, that's number one for me. I'm a minority in the minority class, even though my parents were white, but they were Hispanics, and that's minority. So, you know, and my kids are white. They can pass for white big time. But, you know, still, it's the way I was raised. And I think despite every human being makes mistakes. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not inherently, I mean, yeah, we're born not evil, but we make
Same
mistakes when we're growing
dudes.
up.
That's
Yeah.
what I always think of Billy Carson when he talks
Yeah.
about like the different gods.
But I think
No,
Billy can fix the mistakes that he's made. And
He was
yeah,
great.
he definitely can.
He was great
just
as
got
he pulled the whole show, and he ended up being the closing speaker for the event we went to, and he was pretty good. I was
yeah,
No, I think
he's
he
a
can
great
change it.
speaker. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great speaker, and that's where I think that he needs to use his strength at. Because I've told him, I've talked to him personally. I said, "Yo, man, look, man, if you look at these depictions, that they don't come from the Zachariah Sitchin. I can tell you, I've read all of Zachariah Sitchin's book. I've done a whole series on his books on what he said was right and what he was wrong, based off of what the sources he said he got it from. Okay, I've read books from Andrew George Smith." From all those different people, Jeremy Black, Anton Parks, all these individuals, Irving Finkel. I mean, just all kinds of people.
Oh,
And,
Frankel's great.
yeah.
See, he's another one of those guys, like, that's real information there. But,
Yeah.
Billy Carson shared a map of Dungeons and Dragons.
That was way
city
back when.
of-
Yeah.
City
Long
of
time ago.
Greyhawk, and it said it was Darren Kuyu. I had to, like, go to his
Yeah,
post. I'm like,
he had
that's a
to send him a
D&D
message.
map, bro.
But he just
Oh.
recently shared an AI. I believe it was a picture or video, and he said this is real, and somebody said no, this is fake, and they pulled up the source for it, and I was like, see, that's where. And this is what I think is the problem. I don't think it's Billy Carson doing it all, and I just learned this reading his last book. He literally says in his book he has 150 people doing posts for him.
Okay.
So he has to take responsibility for letting those people post stupid
Yeah.
stuff, because
Or-
that's
or-
what
and
people
like-
are saying.
Well, I in my interview
make
with
a
him,
retractable statement.
he
too.
fired his agent. He
Who's
no
that, his
longer
ex-wife?
has the same agent anymore. So I believe it may have been his agent that posted.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I wish he would get on there and apologize. Say, look, hey y'all, I'm sorry.
It was his
I-
ex-wife.
Yeah, I know about the whole situation. Matter of fact, I could tell you a story about that. He was on live one time. His ex-wife came in there and told him to turn off the live because he was talking about one of his people.
Turn
Like
off
he
the
has a
vibe?
habit of doing that and then deleting it. I'm telling you, I used to every time he went live, I used to watch it because I admired his work. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, you are a true admirer. If you know all these things that I know,
Man.
I definitely know that you know
I'm telling you,
his
matter of fact,
life. Yeah.
he used to I think he's a great person. I just think that he's misleading people because of the simple fact that he's either letting the people share the stuff, the 150 people share his stuff because he's trying to get content out there real quick and not doing it himself. And that's why I like to do my own content. I share because I'm responsible for that.
Well,
You know what
right
I'm
now
saying?
he's a businessman. He's
That's what I was talking about.
he's trying
Everybody's
to
getting
raise
business.
people.
Right.
Yeah, he's a businessman. He's not trying to use ancient or the ancient history or anything like that to run his business. Now
Mhm.
he's trying to help people to elevate themselves and be better.
And I think that's
but, but I don't know what consists of that business or if that's a MLM, multi-level marketing, and I don't like multi-level marketing. So I don't know if that's going to turn into that. I'm not getting into it. I hope not. But if it is, it is. I don't know.
Well, you know what? Let me bring it back to the possibility that what if the sky gods and the sea gods could be one and the same? And I'll
two
tell
things
you,
can be right at the same time.
I'll tell you why I suggest that is let's look at. I'm going to show you guys a slide here real quick from my slideshow. Which, by the way, I'm going to be probably doing another live presentation. I like doing live presentations because I add things to it, and I think it's good. Again, let's talk business, social media business. I think it's good to get out there live to see people and then to post that video. So I'm looking at two places to do my next speech. One is an Indonesian restaurant that uses a Rakshasa ogre as their logo. I'm like, this could be a cool place. And the other one, if you guys don't know, the Mai Kai is the world famous tiki bar here in South Florida where it used to be
You've done business with that before, haven't you?
Well, a little bit. It used to be a dirt road, Mai Kai, and like Johnny Carson would fly there. So it's this giant. Look it up sometime, Mai Kai, and I might do a lecture there.
I've heard him talking about. Tell you what my age is.
Yeah,
I remember him talking about Mai Kai on his show.
So I'd like to, one of my angles, just like Tyrone kind of goes into the the written word. I like to investigate the symbolic language and even the phonemes, the actual
have we seen
sounds.
this language?
Well, these are all different languages here. The one I really want to point out is these two down here.
Okay.
These are some of the earliest Chinese graphemes or symbols for both sky and God, Tian. Sky and God. So if anything, if my theory is correct about a sort of, well, let's go right here to this one.
I love these diagrams, by the way.
A Tibet origin for culture, and here's a little bit of evidence for that, is that oddly, Tibet was one of the earliest places on the planet, besides the Andaman Islands and North Japan of the Ainu, to have Homo sapiens. Now, I don't know, this is out of Africa, but I'm kind of leaning towards an out of Asia. So we talk about sky gods, and what if these sky gods are just descending, and we'll look at some more slides, descending from the Himalayas? And if you were an early man living in the which was Mega Lake Gobi at the time, which, by the way, had subtropical monsoon weather. So it was like a mini subtropical area just north of Tibet. I just got bit by a little critter. Wouldn't you look up to the mountains and say the gods descended from the sky? So, and also why I said bringing in the water is that there's those lakes there, those religious lakes that I mentioned. So maybe both could be true, right?
I want to do a shout out to Rebirth of the Word. Thank you so much.
That's Tyrone,
man, by the way. Thank you so much, Rebirth Word.
That's
for the
Tyrone.
Oh yeah, thank you, bro. Aaron, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Web3 Studios. Look at you guys. I appreciate the fires. All right. Yeah. Aaron really likes Billy, by the way. So thank you so much for your input. Also, Aaron says Madonna via statue as taxidermy. What's that mean?
I'm not sure. I think it might be talking about a Madonna statue that maybe there's possibly suggesting there's a human underneath the statue. I don't know. Maybe he can elaborate on that. Check this out. So here's that.
We missed that.
And again, sorry if people have seen this before, but since the topic comes up.
Show it.
So check out the degrees of difference here. The Sphinx of Giza is at 29.9 north. And of course, we're talking large objects, large distance, and a mountain. So even being off by more than 1 degree is probably not so bad. But this is just about a degree to Mount Kailash, Lions Rock, Sri Lanka, 80.7 east, 81.3 right there. So is that just coincidence that two lion type things are both facing towards what some people believe the holiest mountain in the world?
I don't think it's coincidence. I think along with around the world there's so, I mean, that's the way, and Rebirth can actually agree with me on this. The way that people are told stories are through astronomy. They use the stars. It's like the universal language. The North Star, the East, the West, the South, traveling across, meeting different cultures. They use the heavens, and that's their gods. And I don't know if you agree with me or not on this, but I mean the winds, the north winds, the south winds, the east winds. The oceans. The oceans are great. If you guys have never been to an ocean, there are some people that have never been to an ocean ever in their whole entire life. You have to travel to go and see an ocean. It is so vast, So great. It is.
That's true.
massive.
If people haven't seen that, and just
Yeah,
like the same
it's
with,
vast.
if you haven't seen the mountains, you should probably go see the mountains too.
And you need to dip in the water when the waves hit you. It is so great and so powerful that you say, man, something like this can destroy a city.
What
I
did you
mean,
want him
and
to
it's
agree
like a
with you on
tsunami.
or disagree on?
What is it?
What did you want him to agree with you on or disagree on?
Oh, that astronomy tells stories like Stonehenge. You know, Stonehenge faces certain directions. It's like a massive, like in that culture.
I have
they
a theory on that also. And again, like the constellation, and I think
You
Tyrone
sound
alluded to this.
like you have some negative thoughts on it. Go for
No,
it.
no,
Positive.
it's the same. I agree with you. It's that
Oh,
that Stonehenge and the constellations. It's not that I don't think that the summer solstice is important. I think it's important as just a point of remembrance. So just like in the winter solstice, people suggest that a god is born, right? So I think that's the importance of it. Not, I think we
Incredible.
focus too much on the actual astronomy when I don't think it's about the astronomy at all. I think it's, let's bring it down to human level. And I think it's about human beings remembering things.
and also about kings being born too. Like they pick certain people or the birth of a child. That of course Jesus Christ, but we're not
But
talking.
he was just one of
specifically.
several, right?
Yeah. So they're like in up in European cultures, they pick like a certain child and at a certain time of a star, or this is gonna be or the king of this tribe or something. And I'm like, the child has no say so. You're kind of screwed. You get the responsibility. I mean that.
But even like, I don't even, again, my apologies, my future apologies to Christians. You know, I think the Jesus story is and we see evidence of this. In fact, I think Tyrone was just alluding to this with Mithra or Mitra, depending, right? Whatever, depending on the
when I was
regional,
born on,
I
the
think
Christmas story.
And
The
so I
real
think,
Christmas.
you know, people accuse Christianity of copying. I don't think it's copying. In fact, for all we know, it might be the same culture that just wants us to keep remembering this story. And what better way to remember it but to make it a local event?
I want to back up real quick. You know how
I'm gonna get a beverage while you do that.
Every superhero's story, there's an origin story. So I basically wanted to give you guys a better context of what I was just saying. It's an origin story. So basically, we want to know where it all started. How did they pick their kings? How did they pick their queens? It wasn't, you know, was it a raffle? Did they spin the wheel and say, hey, this is going to be the guy? You know what I'm saying? Or did they fight to the death? Well, a baby ain't going to fight to the death. Maybe the father fought. You know, we all have these thoughts, and it's an archaeologist. Like, there's an archaeologist. He sits there, he goes through the bones, he goes through all the evidence and makes up the story because of all the evidence. And then that's the story you get, and that's the story you're going to believe. And that's about it. But what if the story isn't that story? Maybe there's another story. We don't know. I mean, the archaeologist didn't live back then, but that's the story you're going to get, and that's it. And that's what you're going to get in the textbook. And that is the truth. And that's all you're going to learn. And if you come up with any crazy ideas, I mean, you know, it's you're not like up there high enough to you know, to be accepted in that atmosphere, you know. It's like, oh no, I think this is a better story. I think that my story is a better story, and this should be accepted, and then this is why. And I wrote this whole thesis about it, and then it's up to this whole panel of people to accept that story. But then they have this whole thing where, well, the first story, we have to respect that guy humbly, and that story is the truth, and we can't destroy that guy because we gave him a bunch of awards. That's what we're dealing with when we come with Tridactyls. We can't go around going, oh, this is the truth, and this is why it is the truth, because we have this whole panel of these professionals, and they said this is why it can't be real. I'm sorry, guys. I went off on a tangent.
No, I agree with you. I think
You
all these
did.
stories are for us to remember them. When people say the Christianity or any of these religions copied each other, I don't think they actually really understand how linguistics works. Right? When we started writing our first written language, it was all within pictographic script. Then it became in cuneiform. Then it became in the Greek. Then it came in the so on and so forth. It only got better, and we use, just like, I can't remember which one of you guys said that, but we use words where we understand it might not be the right words, and we learn later on that that might have not been the right word, and we have to rephrase our thoughts after that. But we use the words that we understand. I give a good example. When people say, and I think I said this last time, when people say fallen angels, how many times have you ever heard somebody say, hey man, me and that dude fell out. Me and that dog, we're no longer friends. We fallen out.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Does that mean that you fell out the sky, that one of y'all fell out the sky? No, that just means that something happened that separated you guys, right? And the same thing with the fallen angels. The fallen angels were separated from heaven, from God, however that way was. And you said something earlier, Ed, that was very intriguing to me. When we look at what we know as Nibiru, we know it as Nippur, right? It's a Mesopotamian city that sat on higher ground
Crazy.
than other people. So they were on a hill or a mountain higher than the other individuals. And then they would send their messengers / angels down to the people on what they wanted their people to know about. And then those angels would go back and report to God. That's why every time somebody needed to talk to a god, they had to do what? They had to climb a mountain.
But what kind of powers did they have? Did they have the power of a tablet or an iPhone? Is that what they were worshiping on? You know, that's my question. Is like, they worship them, and what kind of powers did they have? Can we equate those powers to what we have today in our technology?
Well, let's look at it. An iPhone is something that we can talk to with somebody across a certain distance, right?
Earbuds?
Yeah, exactly, right. Well, how many times have you ever was in school when you took two paper cups, cut a hole in the middle, put a string in between it, and sat there and got to talk to somebody across from the classroom? Our technology got advanced from that. Right. So this is no different than how we use telephones today. Right. Remember landlines, you got to put the telephone pole up. You got to put those lines in there, and then boom, you can talk to somebody across the street. Right. You can talk to somebody across the country. It's no different than grabbing, like I said, the two cups, putting a string in the middle of it and holding them up and talking. That's old school right there. Right.
Amplifying one's voice too on a speaker.
Exactly. So but our technology changed based on of our needs. We need the faster we were able to communicate, the better our inventions became, because people were able to do it on the spot. When it took a lot of time for people to talk to each other, it took a lot of time for these inventions to come across.
Imagine the late Earl Jones speaking really loud in big loudspeakers. The sound of God.
Well, going back to, again, that sort of sky, that Tian in Chinese, Tian means sky, it means God, it means heaven. And I even wonder, words like Christian, it has that Tian in it. So I have this theory I would love to just put together, again, that this culture is coming from China. And let's say not even China, because China would have experienced the culture either. Some sort of, see, when we talk about Egypt influenced Sumer, and Sumer influenced Egypt, I like to think of there has to be a greater father-mother culture even before that is linking all these people together. And, I have a couple of evidence of why I suggest that culture is coming from Asia. One, we have this new out of Asia theory, and we see Neanderthals and we see Denisovans leaving Asia. But look in modern times too, what else came from China? The paper and printing press and the compass. Those
Fireworks.
Are pretty big. Gunpowder. Those are some pretty big cultural steps there. So is this something that was going on continuously?
Medicine.
And I even have this theory too. Did early printing, perhaps in the form of clay tablets, move west into the Mediterranean? And were they getting this is what I wanted to talk to Tyrone about. Were they getting the reverse of it? So it's funny because in a lot of our Indo-European languages, the modifier to the noun comes afterwards, right? In Spanish, it's gato negro, right? Well, don't you know in China it's the opposite? And I
No.
see words like Tibet. And if you were to come up with a sort of, I want to say it's a mathesis, I'm not sure, I'll have to look up the word, but words evolve. Could something like Tibet be something like Baiti, which in Semitic means home?
I know what you're talking about.
So were they getting the words and then repeating them backwards?
Now we're speaking in English now. So we're speaking in the English language. They speak in a different language. So their language and their dialect is going to be a lot different than our English language. We think our English language is the main language. Is not. The Latin language is more closer to other languages than what we're speaking right now. And then Indians are speaking more of their language, of the dialect of the ancient languages. And because the Sumerians and all that, yeah.
Right.
If you're
So
looking
my
for more of
ultimate
the ancient
theory
languages,
is-
then you got to go further out.
My ultimate theory is that there was a proto-human language, and there is research into this proto-human language. In fact, if I get a second here, we'll pull up another slide. But that's part of my theory. Part of is my greater theory that the Tridactyls led me to, and it's mostly based on a serpent mother goddess cult that I believe when we have Naga and dragons, they're originating from this part of the world. And that serpent belief that we see in Mesoamerica, we see in Native Americans, is originating from there. I keep seeing this constant, what looks like if we had to come up with a human mother culture, I'm suggesting it's coming from there. That's my theory. And again, it's my theory, a little bit of speculation. I can offer evidence.
It's okay. You could have
still
your
missing. It's still missing, right? It's still missing pieces, which, maybe that'll be something I'll continue to look for.
I mean, Rebirth might be objective about it. He wants the facts and the truth.
Right.
Well, like I said, my facts is what I've read. I'm not saying that it's the accurate or it's 100%. It's that when somebody says something to me, I say, well, the fact of the matter is, look, I've read it here. So you're going to have to prove. And what I like to do is, like I said, I like to argue both sides. I can argue both sides based off the evidence that I have. It's just what is right. And that's why I like to say, two things can be right at the same time. You just got to be careful of that because you got to be able to process what is actually being said. I think a lot of people are doing great work out there. I just think that we have to separate our emotions because our emotions want us to believe something. A lot of these people who believe in these extraterrestrial aliens or whatever, this other stuff, they were once a Christian or a Catholic or a Muslim or something like that. Now they changed that and went to something else. Right, you can tell. It's almost like going from a Christian to an astronaut, ancient astronaut religion. I'm surprised that the Ancient Alien show hasn't created a new religion. If not, if one is,
I'm working on it.
So can I throw something hypothetical to you guys?
Sure.
Can you guys like entertain me for a second? For 1 second?
Sir.
Get my face up real quick.
I'm minimizing.
All right.
It takes a second.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I could also switch it to a different format, and that'll probably help.
I'll just talk while you're doing it. So, the idea is this. Let's focus on something. Let's say in a perfect world, aliens from another planet doesn't exist. Perfect? Okay. Let's just say hypothetically.
I'm okay. At least maybe
there is no such thing as aliens. I know nobody wants to hear this, but let's hypothetically, not real life or nothing like that. They do exist, of course, but let's say they don't exist. They never traveled across the known universe because it's very difficult.
Okay, I got that.
Yeah. So
move on.
There's too much radiation and all that good stuff.
Whatever.
Because we can't do it. Why
Doesn't
would
matter.
they be able to?
I'm with
right?
you. There's
I'm trying to add some proof to it, right? But we got these wild creatures. We got proof of these wild entities, these beings that look like aliens. Where would they come from? And we got ships that appear and disappear in thin air. Where would they come from? I mean, is there another plane of existence they are appearing? Are they coming from the inside of the earth? There are different theories that people are just popping off with, that they're thinking there's like an underground civilization, or people, or
Yeah.
there's actually beings that were here before humans that they're living on the moon.
Evolution
as
might
that.
not even be true, and like the Tridactyls just stay in the state they're in because it's a perfect state. You don't have to evolve, you know.
But saying hypothetically, what are the possibility that there were beings before us and they're just stepping away and letting us evolve?
That's what my theory is. So, you know, going back to the whole language thing, this is just one slide trying to trace the ka sound, the ka phoneme, which I suggest is a god phoneme, and a tridactyl symbolism. And you can see that there's drastic symbols that are similar. And then we were talking about language spreading, and even your English, your angles, and your even Tyrone's angels, I suggest may all be associated. The word knowledge, the word Gnostic, all of these words may be coming from our Naga and Chinese.
I have to say you have too much time on your hands. It's a lot of research, bud.
Oh, I know. And if you
that's
look
what
in the
I like.
background,
That's what I like. That's what I like personally. I love seeing this because of the simple fact that you're doing your due diligence. Somebody that just sees this and they don't agree with you, they'll immediately dismiss you, but they won't have a counter argument, let alone evidence to prove you wrong.
Right. And if you look on this slide, there's tiny little words in there that are describing what the word means. Horned serpent and serpent symbolism, spirituality, fertility. So it's actually more detailed than even the slide allows. And then I'm sure you guys have seen this before. I did a little bit of math, and it looks like perhaps that language may travel a mile per year, which is interesting. So a language could travel 1,000 miles in 1,000 years. Now, of course, modern times, that I'm sure English has changed that whole math. And then even on oceanic terms, in Oceania, I did the math, and it looked like language was traveling 2 miles a year. So through the use of a boat. And so this is just, again, Mega Lake Gobi region. And I'm just trying to put together a evidence for a proto-language spreading throughout the world. So yeah, what's cool about what I do, thank you, Tyrone, is that I am trying to, you know, people are looking for Atlantis and ancient civilizations, and what? They're searching sites. They're digging archaeology. I'm saying, well, what if the civilization can be detected through this proto-language, through phonemes, sounds, and that sort of nature. So it keeps me busy. You're right.
Let me ask you both. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go for it.
I wanted to ask you both question. How far back do you think language actually went?
Well, you know, looking at, you know, Mega Lake Gobi could have, I'll have to look into this, but there's that volcano in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, 70,000 years ago. So that might have been the start of the dispersal. Perhaps the dispersal, I'll have to do some research into that. I should probably make a note.
What is the definition of language for you? Or advanced language? I guess we have to define advanced language.
Oral communication.
There's basic language, which is looking at each other and go, you know?
That's still oral, though. Eventually that becomes
That's
something.
what I'm asking. What do you consider a certain level of language? Because people want to know. Our viewers want to know, where does it start? And then where does it, I mean, where are we here today? And where does it start where we can say, what is advanced language? Because, I mean, I communicate with my cat and I say, come here, and my cat comes here. I talk to my dog, and my dog sits there and just listens all day and knows what I'm talking about. I said, let's go eat. And then he comes over and let's go eat. You know, my dog can understand the words I say because I taught my dogs these words. You know, I taught it since it was a puppy. Every single word in English, not in Spanish. Unfortunately, I didn't teach Spanish. I should have. But I'm able to communicate my language that was taught to me when I was little to animals. Animals, that is, you know, which is crazy. I mean, there's people around the world. You see it on social media.
You see those dogs that have all the buttons, right? My dog uses a couple
Dude,
buttons.
that's crazy, isn't it?
Couple buttons.
With
but yeah, the dog has like 15 buttons.
Like 120 buttons. The dog goes like this and says,
I mean, that's definitely communication, right? Can the dog, maybe communication requires, and again, I would have to look up an anthropological definition. Would it require that dog being able to formulate? I mean, I don't know. They can put together sentences. I'm going to look that one up. Unless Tyrone's got something.
Sometimes the dog is rude.
I actually that was one of the first questions that I wanted to know was where did language came from, because I wanted to know. I wrote an article. I have a section on my website. Who are all these gods and goddesses? I have a part 1 and part 2. I have I think 20 or 30 gods on there, and I'm updating it slowly. Of course, I actually did a screen share, Ed, if you would like to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
But on my website, under the who are all these gods and goddesses tab, I actually wanted to look up before I talked about how would people describe a god. And I found this peer-reviewed article from August 30th, 2013. Nice. This is the type of stuff that I like to present. I like to present evidence for my understanding and my counter arguments when people speak. So according to Natalie Dios-Yomini and George Frederick Maya, I don't know how to say it, but they say that language goes back to 1.75 million years right here, right?
Nice.
And they said I can't get the one. There we go. It said that it started because of the Acheulean technology, a type of a tool.
Those big axes, big stone axes.
It's because of the shared brain lateralization. Meaning that your brain was developed to develop tools. And how do we teach somebody else a tool? Something that you guys were just talking about, dogs, pets. Jesus, you were talking about teaching your dog, English, and you should have taught it Spanish. This is where we understand the idea of how do we tell somebody else how to use a tool, right? And this is one of the ways. I'm literally from August 30th, 2013. They say that, literally they say, and they give you scans, they give you all the stuff. It's a peer-reviewed article. It was accepted. It was published. It's out there. Anybody can read it. And it says 1.75 million years ago. Now, this is the thing. A lot of people say because of the Australopithecus afarensis or Australopithecus ramidus, which is the idea where we get the human with bilateral walking and on 2 legs and stuff like that. Bipedalism. That's what I meant. Bipedalism. They go back 3 or 4 million years ago. So almost 1.52 million years later, that's when we started speaking. So before that, we weren't speaking, but 2 dogs can communicate without us knowing that. We can communicate with our pets. Me personally, I think my dog, he got a hearing problem because every time I talk to him, he don't do nothing, but I use sign language. If I point to go somewhere, he knows to go over there. If I point down, he knows. Yeah, as long as he sees me. Exactly. And I think the reason why he got hearing problems is because whenever he has his back to me and I call his name, he don't never hear me. So, or he's either that or he ignore me.
It's good to do. Yeah, they do that too. It's good to do both. Do the audio and the physical sign, I feel.
Yeah, see, I make it bigger. This right here, this information right here is just interesting to me because I know that there's more peer-reviewed articles that could possibly go older than that. I just included this one on there because it talked about the tools, the way we because you talked about
that's almost like
physical.
It's like almost like physical evidence, right? The tools are almost like physical evidence of language without having script.
Exactly.
And I'm the hypothetical guy too. So, I already started a hypothetical. Let's say, for instance, we lived underwater. We can't vocally talk. And so how do we communicate underwater?
The Tridactyls have ear bones, by the way, that are similar to marine animals. And they may have worked with clicks, which clicks is some of the first language on planet Earth. There you go. Like the Bushmen, the Kojin Kung dialect. So people ask me, what do you think Tridactyls sounded like? I'm like, well, listen to that click language and it probably have a clue there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but I'm using the air as we speak. So their mouth would be closed and their bones would have to be set up in a way where it clicks inside so that your biology would have to be set up for that itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing what information we have out there, right? Because what is communication? And the reason why I did
Well,
this, I
that's
actually
part of
wrote
it.
a-
That's part of the problem. Is what's the definition of language, right?
Yeah.
And one of the definitions that I was alluding to earlier is productive. Can you say something that hasn't been said? Can you communicate something that hasn't been said before?
Reproduction. I think reproduction and mating would be the basic of communication. That I can assure you from all my classes in college and everything like that, the most basic is that itself is through mating. So if
But you don't need
language begin
communication to mate,
if it
though.
no, but you do, because the beginning of
don't.
it, yeah, like birds with feathers, they communicate with the colors
Okay,
of
but
their
that's not
feathers.
language, though, is it?
I would say so.
That's what I'm
Because
saying.
Let me
ask you this, Ed.
competing. They're competing
let me ask
for the female bird, all the males.
let me ask you this, Ed. Is sign language a language?
Yes.
So that would be considered the birds. Remember the wings. You know, pushing them. We might not know it because we're not the bird to represent that, right? But sign language, and then braille on top of that. That's a language also.
But could a symbol for something not be necessarily language? Is like, for example, if I huff and puff and bang my chest, is that language, or am I just sending a sign?
That's a good question.
I
That is actually a good question.
think
Here,
it's a
look
good
at-
time, by the way,
Okay,
also
guys,
to do
guys,
a quick ahead. Well, go ahead, but I'm going to
Go
go
ahead and
ready.
take a look at my face real quick, okay? And this is, I'm going to show you what a cat does, all right?
But communication and language might be two different things.
Look at my face real quick. This is what a cat does. This is how a cat communicates. That is language for a cat. I've been studying cats.
I'm gonna
They
look
do
this
that.
up.
If you watch a cat carefully, they use the eye system and the turn of a head, but slightly. And when they come in confrontation with each other, a male between another male, it becomes even slower and slightly.
Is it language or is it communication?
It is language. Well,
See what I'm saying?
To me, it's a language because it becomes life and death for them.
I think I got that definition. Okay, because what I like to do is I like to look up the etymology, the origins of the word.
I think
So
I'm understanding
technically-
what you're trying to say.
Language literally in the late 13th century means words, what is said, conversation, talk, or speech, words, oratory, a tribe, people, nation from vulgar. So that's actually a great question, because, and a good way to think about it, because how can language be perceived by us? Is it different from us? Because cats can't make
about the sign language too, because that last definition I don't think really touches upon sign language, does it?
Nah, it just says it literally says words, what is said, and conversation. So that's actually interesting. I like to see y'all
that's
got
so
me going.
biased. That's so biased against sign language.
Yeah, that's what I was going. That's why I asked that question. Do we consider sign language?
Or is sign language
They
simply
need to
signing
update
words? They're signing words, so it's not necessarily bad what we're saying.
Okay, here we go. It's actually, it goes back to 1300. So the one that I said was late 1300. From early 1300 is just manner of expression. So y'all both are right, depending on which time frame you want to use.
There you go.
So y'all both are actually right. It's just that in late time frame it was used for speech. In earlier times it was manner of expression.
I have too much time on my hand, pretty much, guys. I study my own freaking animals a lot. I spend too much time with them.
No, I know with my dog, if he yawns, he's uncomfortable about something. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't like what you're doing.
I'll bring my cat over. Hold on.
Well, good. While you bring the cat over, I will use this as a moment to do our Tridactyl
This
giveaway.
is Ookie Snooky. Chase
Uki
off.
Suki. Oh, that's a good looking cat.
Yeah, this is a Maine Coon mix.
Wow,
Oh.
Maine Coon.
Yeah,
Not-
this is a Maine Coon mix. You're such a pretty cat. Everybody wants to see you. Chase, leave it. My
Chase
dog
trying to-
is
Messing with the cat
my dog is trying to nip at him. This is
because you're holding him. That's
Now
a great
he's-
looking kitty.
now
what are you
he-
doing, Chase?
my dog is trying to hop up.
All right, I'm going to do the Tridactyl head giveaway.
This is Uki Suki. How you doing?
So here's our numbers.
Chase, leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Leave it.
And I got a new way to roll. I don't need roll 20. I don't know if you guys know this, but Google has its own D&D dice. So here we go. Ready? I may have to roll this a few times before we get a winner. Hopefully not. 17.
Chase.
That's 17. Camille already won. 95. Chris Duncan. I know Chris Duncan online. Congratulations, Chris Duncan on Twitter. You are our winner. There's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, there's still almost like 10 people still that have a chance. So we can stop sharing for our roll this week. Thank you guys for taking part in that. Keeps it more
Thank you. Congratulations, guys.
Chris Duncan.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Are they going to
Chris
get the
Duncan.
new one?
The new
Because
one?
you said,
No.
you said
they
the
said-
Tridactyls are over, right?
No. We're still going. I have the deal is this. I have these giant things of mix that create these, right? This is not 3D printed. Originally, it was 3D printed, but this is actually an epoxy plastic mix. So once I'm out of the mix, that's it. Competition's over.
The next time I see you, you need to sign it because I didn't get your
Ooh.
signature last time.
That's an interesting thought.
So I got to pay you $20 for the signature.
Yeah, so I will.
It's a donation. It's a donation to Tridactyls, bro.
I was going to say, I'm not in the business, but I will.
No. We need to get that website. going.
That mix costs like $200 to make, just the two things. I will be planning to. I will sell the next batch, though. I will be selling them to
I
people.
want to see a professional website.
And again, let's take another look at this guy. This was made by.
I can't see
You
it.
can't see it. It's almost creepier.
Whoa! It's a shadow. It's a
That
shadow
happens
creature.
with my I don't know if I have any green
The
ones.
mystery
I'm
box.
laughing so hard, dude.
Oh no! When I hold up some of the Hong Shang,
You have the ability to print shadow creatures.
so this is
Oh,
one of my
that's
Hong
really
Shang
cool.
artifacts
That
That
looks like
alludes-
what you were holding earlier, but not shadowy looking.
that alludes to
Hey.
it alludes to the four-limb first development. This might be thousands of years old.
Bro,
Here's
that
another
looks
one.
That looks like a sock puppet, but in solid form.
Here's another one that's kind of like one of the larval forms, right?
Dude, he just find. Where do you find these things?
Here's one that looks like the original letter B. The letter B is a bent right angle triangular looking head. So
He's an archaeologist, everybody. He's a bona fide archaeologist, so he has all these things.
yeah, it's fun. I think I told the story is that, I took anthropology because I didn't see majoring in theater having any sort of a weight to it. And I wanted to teach history and social studies. So I thought the anthropology degree would help me do that. So, my degree is actually anthropology and social sciences with a certificate in ethnic studies. And then when I volunteer at the museum, that's also part of the story, guys, because I want the young people to understand this, is that you can't always do everything for economic reductionism. Everything doesn't have to make money. When I
Rebirth.
volunteered at the museum, do you know what my parents said? What are you doing that for free? But they didn't have the foresight I had. And by doing that for free, I eventually became the activities coordinator, the director of education. And yes, I did plenty of field work with multiple companies, different aspects. And again, I would have never have done that if I didn't do what? Volunteer for free. So
Rebirth. Ask him if he ever believed in aliens before.
Have you ever believed in aliens
Oh no,
before?
I believed in aliens. What I didn't really believe in was like Bible stories, Anunnaki, and reptilians. Now, after the Tridactyls, it seems like all of that is related. It's all the
He
same
became
thing.
a believer. He became a believer.
Yeah, so people
man.
also don't realize that about me. Is that I was a skeptic of all this,
Found
this
proof.
stuff too.
There was
But I found
proof
proof
in the
exactly.
ground. I mean, if this can change a non-believer, a person an archaeologist that was taught all the Western sciences and everything like that, I was in the ground. I mean, it can change everybody, So it's incredible.
Right. And
that's why I'm his sidekick on this, because I was like, man, this is an amazing change.
Yeah, I mean, that's what led me to Tibet. All these things, when we talk about Tibet and China, I mean, the mummies were found in Peru. How did I get to China with all of this? And it was just following the breadcrumbs. And I'm still following those breadcrumbs, I feel.
In 10 years from now, these naysayers and the hoaxers and all this stuff, they're going to eat their words.
I think so. Maybe even sooner than that.
They're going to be they're going to find way more than the few that they have right now. They're still doing scans.
They
There's
suggest
new ones.
there's hundreds or thousands of these bodies. So you're going to have to disprove each one. Hey, guys, any last words? I think we've done this for over an hour and a half.
You got anything else, Rebirth? Anything else that you missed out on?
I just want to say I do appreciate you guys letting me come here and have these discussions with you, and not taking things personal from everybody and stuff like that, because you guys seem like you guys are on the right path. You don't find too much of this around. A lot of, like we talked about earlier, a lot of people find this as a business, and I'm like you guys. I think if you're good at what you do, you should get paid for it. But at the same time, we also have to remind ourselves that if we're going to share true knowledge, we have to actually do it and not try to just say it, because action speaks louder than words.
Oh yeah, we're gonna open up a tourism, and everybody has to pay $3,000 to go to Peru with us. No,
or the monthly subscription fee. That was a little bit investigating, and I see that these same people that are accusing people of making money have subscription fees. So
I can tell you the only thing that
tour guide.
The only thing that, is funny, I can no longer say that I do this for free, because now I am monetized on
You were
X.
monetized. Yeah. Congratulations. Really. That's really what we should be saying. Not
Can you believe I've been monetized for the past 4 years?
Oh, you have?
I still don't make any money.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of people, I just seen it on X. Every time it's payouts, everybody's talking about how much money they made or how much little money they made and stuff like that. I'm just like this. Look, first of all, there's no money to be made in this type of field. You got to do so many different things to make money, and you got to be wary about who talks about the money and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons why I was harping on all that stuff that I was talking about earlier, is because of the simple fact that I see that it's more of a money-making thing now versus than authenticity. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Do what you got to do to support your family. You know what I mean? Do what you can do to support your family.
I don't care if people make money. Just don't accuse people of making money when you are. It's like, what's the silly? Yeah. It's a silly thing. Like, anytime you show hypocrisy in this world, there's a good chance that because of that hypocrisy, the light in the mirror will be shown on you,
And you know what? I would never say that I don't like the person. I just don't like their information, or I don't like what they're sharing. That's what I don't. You as a person, I'm literally that type of person where me and you can go in the backyard, have a fist fight, and we can go to the bar right after that, because it is what it is. We both had aggression. We both had our feelings. We got it out the way. Boom, boom, boom. Don't hold on to those feelings.
All right, put it on the schedule.
Share, if you got information, share it. And if and you can't be mad if somebody's checking you, because this is social media. People are going to do what they got to do. You know what I'm saying? So when you get emotional, you tend to lose what you did. And that's why I said the stuff earlier, walking out on interviews and stuff like that. Me, I could never do that. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I wish I can get to the point where I can have a discussion where somebody makes me even think about what I'm doing wrong. And I like it because, like I said to you guys last time, I learn better when I'm wrong. And the reason why is because I don't like saying the same stupid shit that I said 10 minutes ago. So if you prove me wrong or something, I'm definitely not going to say that ever again.
Yeah, I mean, one of the guys I talked to on X who follows my stuff, he'll ask questions to help put me on the spot. You know, Javier does it too. He'll put me on the spot. Any last words, Fat Jesus?
I test Ed, like I communicate with Ed, and I throw him a bunch of hypothetical stuff. Let's say, for instance, I drill him on what people claim to be hoaxes and stuff like that, and I say, well, they're going to be saying this, then they're going to be saying this, and I need you to be ready for this, and I need you to be ready for that. And then you know, and then he gets emotional about it, and then he gets upset at me, and then I want him to be upset, and I want him to get emotional because I want him to be emotional with me and not with emotional to other people. So I let him get through all that, and then when he does get confronted with it, he'll have his composure, he'll be focused, and you know, and that's how you know.
Yeah, I'm okay with people putting me in the spot. It's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you get into this industry, you look for somebody that is that works with you. You want somebody that's going to drill you, help you out, and you're going to receive that
it's the devil's advocate.
Yeah. And then you're going to take that what is it? The constructive criticism, and then you're going to use it. Yeah. And then you're going to be even more powerful. You're going to be even better at the job you're doing, and then you're going to grow from it.
All right, guys. I'm going to wrap that up. Thank you for your last words. Let's do this again. I think it was great. We had a little back and forth, a little pushback on some things. I got to talk about my theories. You guys got to talk about your theories, right? So we'll do it again.
A little bit of behind the curtain for all you fans out there.
That's right. Live long and